The road by the school.
The elementary school.
Maple
and then
Ridge.
it came down the edge of the highway to grab this land out here by the interstate for economic development.
Is that
So it
what?
looks like a saddle. Imagine it. It's a piece here, and then this little strip of line that goes across.
Okay, that includes the water tower, that's why they got the little.
Yeah, well, all this land out here is Ingles, but it goes down a small little strip that runs parallel to the highway, down 800, down to where Maple Ridge is, and then it goes down in Ingles that way. That's all they own. They own nothing in between, annex. They own nothing in between them.
And so that makes us contiguous to,
Well, it goes all the way to the county line, so nobody can come in from any direction on us. Pendleton can't. So Ingles would be the only one that could. If Fortville could come up from our south, they could come up and annex us. But at this point, we're on an island.
So why is annexing going on all the time then? I mean, if one place, why doesn't Fortville annex Ingles? Why do if they?
No municipality can annex another municipality. They can only annex unincorporated territory. So, once a city has it, it's theirs, nobody else can touch it. No city can, basically hit on another one. So it's kind of the first one who goes after your unincorporated territory. Right? You're not in a municipality, therefore you're fair game for whoever is contiguous to you and comes in first.
Eagles actually did the 200-foot strip, and along across there from Faulkner Regional Waste, there's people at their front yards and Eagles, their backyard and Gold Barn is Green Township, two different tax bills. So they went back about a year and a half ago, and they took 400 or 500 feet, whatever it took. But they wanted Maple Ridge, so the school corporation signed, so Maple Ridge is Eagles Elementary, is what they call it. So they came up and got the interstate, right over here at the bridge on 650, they're by Smith's Dairy Barn. Then they got, somehow, the state, Department of Transportation to give them I-69, so they basically own I-69, 3.5 linear miles over the county.
And that was protested in the courts, but we lost. The county did not fight it.
Dave Mann paid to us work costs out of his pocket, $260 grand to win Madison County, and Paul Wilson was our commissioner at the time, and I think Judge Newman and the judge in Indianapolis, and when I went down there, told him was county officials can't remonstrate. It was 3 county commissioners remonstrating against county officials.
There was no property owner of that land.
Pardon?
Because there was no property owner of the land, of
Right,
the highway.
no property owner.
There was no one to remonstrate against it.
What you will find happens, you were talking about cities. A lot of times, cities will cut deals. Fortville and McCordsville is a perfect example of that. They've kind of drawn a line, and they've reached an agreement between the two of them that McCordsville will not come east of that road, and Fortville will not try and go west of that road. And cities will oftentimes divide up land, even though neither of them has annexed it. They'll kind of reach agreements between them on what they're going to do. On the other hand, some of the most brutal fights you see in litigation, Greenwood, Bargersville is a classic example, went all the way to the Supreme Court. They were fighting tooth and nail over who could get what land. And they were literally both trying to annex the same thing. A bunch of people there tried to do a voluntary petition to get into Bargersville because they didn't want to be Greenwood, and that thing went on and on and on. I think over Yorktown, that way there have been fights. Pendleton and Anderson, I think, tend to fight a bit. That's not uncommon, that, like I say, once somebody has taken territory, that's it, nobody else can go into that city.
I have a couple questions from Don, he's not here tonight. What can we do that is legally binding as far as ensuring 2 seats are in Ingalls and 2 are at Summerlake with 1 at large? Is there anything we can do to ensure that before we get annexed?
Part of the plan in an annexation will be how the council districts, town council districts are going to be operated. It will basically show here's how we're going to zone them, here's who is where. You do have to zone based on population, fairly evenly. You can't have, each district on a town council has to represent within minor percentage deviations approximately the same number of voters. So, you can't, for example, have one district and 800 some odd homes in Summer Lakes and 3 and 600 homes in another development. That's not equal. So part of the plan, and if they decide to move forward, that will be in the plan as well, is how they plan on districting, so you can take a look and see. Once they've adopted a plan, they're obligated to follow through.
They're all large now, Steve.
Okay.
All 5 spots are large.
Still from Don, can we force them to commit and be bound for services, police, fire, rescue, and so forth, especially building out a fire station near us?
They are obligated to do what is in their plan and only what is in their plan. So, you take a look and see. If they decide that they can provide adequate fire service without building a fire station out here, that's the decision they make. Now, that may come into an issue whether they can provide adequate fire protection. But basically, whatever they do and don't want to do is going to be set out in the plan. Once you have been annexed, and I actually have one of these cases, once you have been annexed, if they do not follow through with the plan, then you can go back to court and enforce the plan. And there are several things, if they're in violation, several things a court can do. They can force it to do them, they can suspend taxes, and they can, if necessary, even disannex. I'm in court in Southwest Clay because they cut a deal with Carmel and annexation, and Carmel was breached. So that's back in court on an enforcement matter.
It sounds awfully autocratic. This is what I tell you, we are not going to pay more taxes because we want your money. Don't we have a decision? Don't we have anything to say it?
You hit it on the head. The answer is you don't have it. Other than Romulus, you're right. No, they decide they want you, and they get to draw the maps. In all honesty, what they can do, this is an advantage the city has, they can cut Summer Lakes in half. They could cut Summer Lakes in half and say, we really only want half the neighborhood. The city draws the map that it is annexing. And they have complete and total autonomy. Nobody can touch them on that. Then it goes from there.
For those of you who are writing down stuff, I have a Patty Mock at the office in the courthouse the other day, the auditor's office, and the total assessed value where we're standing, this church, all your homes, $94.4 million. By the time you take out the homestead credit and the over 65 and the blind and all those credits, it's $43 million. So they're only drawing taxes on less than half of the total AV. So right now, 94.4, 43 million is all they have taxes on. And they calculated that at the auditor's office to be about $343,000. We'll always be a green township, we hope, and I still get money for township assistance, our poor relief, I still take care of the 9 cemeteries, the odds and ends we do provide fire protection for the council motel areas, even though this would change. But somewhere around, 400,000, give or take, is what they're going to put in their pocket. But here's the thing that I've stressed on, you won't see that until the June 16 tax draw. What do you do in the meantime to provide these soft services or whatever you're going to do? That's where we get into discussion about ALS. We're only 5.5 miles away with Discovery. We get here in 5 minutes. I'm telling you, that's not acceptable.
A couple of things, just to add to that. Basically, the way it works is if you are annexed, you will pay taxes. The way Indiana works, they assess you March 1, you pay the following calendar year. So your taxes to Ingalls will be based on paying in the calendar year after the first March 1 after you're annexed. So if they don't annex you until March the 2nd, 2015, you're not going to pay taxes there until 2017 because March 1/16 is the first March 1. So depending on how they time this, if they wait until next spring to do this, you may or may not, then your taxes may be deferred. They do have to provide the services, but the other thing I will say is in most counties, property taxes are only a small piece of the revenue because what they also get is a pro rata share of the county option income tax. And that's based on the levy. Their levy goes up. So in a lot of counties, that's half again as much, or that's 50, the same amount. I mean, you get as much in county option income as you do in property tax. So again, but that will all show up in their plan. They will get more road and street money. They will get more bank tax. There are a whole bunch of taxes that go pro rata. Some are based on population, some are based on levy, some are based on assessed value. There are all kinds of other income streams that they would get as a part of this annexation, more than just property tax, I think. Yes, sir.
Would the casino money be included in that? I was at one of the Ingles Town Council meetings recently, I think it's the second one, and one of the council members said something about casino money being involved in that. I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't know how your casino money is passed out. I mean, if it's done on a population basis, yeah, they get more, but I simply don't know how the casino money is allocated in the county, so I really couldn't answer that. But what I will tell you again, if they do a plan and they're getting casino money, they have to spell it out in the plan. Yes?
In reference to item number 3, you said as far as the requirements, when it comes to proving a significant financial impact, is that limited to financial impact directly on the homeowners, or citing the example you used with Geist and the schools? Is that taken into account, or is it strictly personal financial impact?
It is strictly financial impact on the landowners. So, yeah, it does not, and that's one of the issues in the study committee the General Assembly is looking at. There are a whole lot of other things that you actually look at impact on other units of government, not in annexation. So, yeah, I mean, you could rip the school and it doesn't matter. Yeah, it is financial impact on landowners.
When they have to decide when they start doing it, or do we have to wait 2 years, 5 years, until they decide?
There is a time frame once they adopt a fiscal plan. I think and I'd have to pull the statute off the top of my head, but at that point, I think they're looking at, I'd have to pull the statute, but I mean, time starts running. But they don't have to adopt a fiscal plan. I mean, they can wait years. There's really no limit on when they can do it, and if they have you, by their 200-foot strip, have you blocked from anybody else, it's their call when they want to get it done.
So you have lived out here since 2004, and I've heard this ever since I lived out here, that they were going to end that. So, I think it's time to let them.
The only way you can force their hand is if 51% of the people sign petitions and give them to them and say, we want to be annexed. And, yeah.
So Pendleton can come in with a fiscal plan for Ingles?
Not if they're not contiguous. And my understanding is Pendleton is not contiguous to you, so they can't do anything.
Can you voluntarily annex if you're not contiguous?
No, you have to be contiguous. That can be done. I will tell you, my firm doesn't do that. There are some firms that do, but there are a number of entities that have self-incorporated. But if you self-incorporate, then you have to provide all the services that a city or town provides. So your taxes are going to go up anyways, it's just that you're in control. I will tell you, when Fishers was going to annex Geist, that I wasn't, again, this is when I was not involved in it. Geist tried to self-incorporate, and they literally, Fishers was passing the petition at the same time that Geist was filing a petition to self-incorporate, and they ended up going to, I know the Court of Appeals, maybe the Supreme Court on that, it cost them a ton of money. And ultimately, it was decided that Fishers had passed its introductory ordinance, I'm thinking like 24 hours before Geist filed that thing, so Fishers won. It was the first one there.
I just want everybody to remember, because this belongs back to 2007, we can get ourselves elected to that city council and have a whole lot of say on what goes on. And that's exactly what we will be doing.
One other thing I want to say, and make sure you're aware of, is if you remonstrate, and if you are successful, What that means is that the city, from the time of the last unappealable judgment, the city cannot involuntarily annex any part of that area for 4 years. But at the end of 4 years, they can start all over again. So it's basically, that's what the statute says. Now, again, in the meantime, if the General Assembly comes in and gets rid of involuntary, that would be a wonderful thing. That isn't going to happen. I mean, if it happens next session, it isn't going to apply to anybody probably before July 1. You know, any annexations that start before July 1 of next year probably would escape that law.
See, on the lighter side, someone told Ingalls if this happens, we'll go ahead and get control of your board in the next couple elections, and we're going to disannex Ingalls.
Good question over here.
Thank you. My question was about the petition. I know there's a couple of people who have 2 homes out here, they live in one and rent the other. So, do they get to sign it twice?
Yes.
Okay.
For every parcel you own, you get to sign a petition. You know, in a lot of the ones where they're taking ag land, just because of the way it's set up, we'll have farmers that may have 10 petitions. Perfectly admissible. It is one petition per parcel.
And my other question was, we just trust people when we live in the road and saying, you know, I ran here, that they'll be honest, and because I was concerned about people maybe not realizing they can't sign a petition, who are written, will sign a petition and then.
No, before you start your petition drive, you're going to have a list, and the city will be forced to provide it, of all the parcels and who on their records is the owner.
Okay.
So if you show up to 7248 Smith Road, you're going to know who owns it, and so when the person answers the door, you know, you can at least trust that that is the owner. Or if it's a rental, and you know that, you're going to find out where the owner lives and send them a letter.
The auditors shows 159 residents in here now. 159 residents. And, you know, talking about the 2%, they're going to collect 2%. That's the plus for Ingalls. They'll collect 2%.
Yeah, but remember when I was talking about the 1%, that only applies to a homestead. You own it, it is your principal place of residence, you live there. A rental is residential property that is on the 2% tax cap. So if you're at the 1, but most of them are 2, they're going to pay some more taxes. Commercial business is 3%. Agricultural land, incidentally, is also 2%.
25% of the total taxes the county estimates is paid by for people on the land.
Well, one comment to what the lady said earlier about our ability to remonstrate. You know, in the packets that just came out from the HOA, they said they were striking that. They were removing that clause from our homeowners' covenants, from our HOA covenants. So, you know,